And now, HamRadioConcepts presents another exciting amateur radio video, keeping ham radio operators informed with a thorough look at the new products. Now, here's your host, Eric, KJ4YZI.
Is what D-Star uses, and some of them use the 4 FSK, the 4 level, and then there's a couple of others that use some other kind of phase modulation.
What's up, YouTube? Eric, HamRadioConcepts here. The Radioddity GD-55 DMR handheld. So a lot of people have been interested in this, but they have some questions. So this video is going to break down the questions, give you an overview of the radio, show you what it's capable of, and of course it's from Radioddity.com. This is their intro into their own branded DMR radio. It is very similar to the MD398. It's probably identical. So without unboxing it, to look at the radio itself, and you're familiar that the MD380 and 390 look similar to this. This is a little bit different the way its keypad is laid out, but overall it's pretty much identical with a couple hardware differences. To start off, this is improved power. We're going to test that today on video. This is claimed to be a 10-watt radio. Now, with that being said, once we test it and figure it out, it's also claimed to be fully submersible with GPS. So I will put it in the dunk tank, as I call it outside, the little thing of water I have, and we'll see if it's submersible. But comparing this to something as another DMR handheld, this is a Tier 1 time slot 1 DMR handheld. So it is UHF, and you can get it in either VHF or UHF. This one is the UHF model, and it is Tier 1 time slot 1. So it's not going to really play well on DMR repeaters because of the fact that it only has one time slot. Okay? If you use this in a Tier 1 environment instead of FRS radios or commercially, it's perfect. It does do full analog, 400 through 480, I believe. So you can use it with your analog VHF repeaters. Let's look at the in the menu here, and I'll touch on the programming software real quick. We'll take a look at it and see what it looks like. But what I want to show you, if I can find it sitting right here, is another one that I got from Radioddity before, the D901. The menu structure, coincidentally, is pretty much like the same when you look into the menu. You know, if you look at the menu here, it's like practically the same. I wonder if this menu came from here or this menu came from this. But when you're looking in here, you can text message. You can set zones. You have your channel selector up top. Look at the radio first. The SMA female connector on the radio, transmit, receive, light, volume knob. The knobs are a little bit bigger. Channel selector, okay, and this is a 16 channel selector, but it goes around over and over again. It doesn't stop at one side. The orange button, which can be programmed for different priority functions. On the left side, your PTT, your low and high power.
Low power. High power.
That's on the top here. This one here is not assigned to anything. Okay, you can assign this radio button as well. The battery is a lot bigger because it's a 10-watt unit. If you look at the size of this compared to an ID51 maybe, a little bit bigger, okay? The body is a little bit bigger. It feels like an MD390 in my hand, but with the battery it feels even heavier because it's an upgraded battery for the 10-watt power consumption. On the right side, it does use the Motorola style, Motorola style connector here with the pins. So it does not use the Kenwood style, Bofeng style pins, okay? And there is a programming cable and software available for this on their website, so you can get your channels and zones and stuff programmed into there, okay? So let's go back into the menu here for a minute. Messaging, contacts, you can save your contacts. I was playing with this on my DMR hotspot, my Raspberry Pi DV Mega. I did have a couple talk groups saved in here, And I was making communications, but again, with a Tier 1 radio on a Tier 2 platform on the Brandmeister network, it wasn't working out too well. So yeah, it did make the contact, but the audio issues were a little bit unsatisfying for some people. Okay, you can text. In fact, I think I text messaged on here. I didn't, but you can do the text messaging between two GD-55s, between some other radios like the Ushan and the MD-380s and 390s. They are all compatible as far as the DMR Tier 1 functionality and the text messaging. Go down here to settings. So a couple settings you can change in here. One thing I want to show you, if you go into config and you go to time slot, okay? It only shows time slot 1. Now there are some people out on the web that are trying to modify the software, and on the software you can get it to modify where it'll give you an option of time slot 1 or 2, but the hardware is the limitation that's keeping it a time slot 1 radio. So you won't be able to change it to a time slot 2 Tier 2 radio unless you have a hardware change. All right. But you do have color codes and also GPS on here. If you turn the GPS on in the settings for power, you can use this in a business or commercial platform and locate each, you see the GPS coordinates of each unit as you're traveling. So it could be good for hiking, could be very good for using it in a business establishment, because again, the DMR digital, and we're going to get more into DMR on my channel as the days go on, the DMR quality over analog is just superb. The distance, the fringe areas are better on digital than they are analog. So you can get a lot more done at distant ranges with DMR than you can with analog. And in crowded or congested frequencies, DMR will do just well. So let's do this. Let's put it on the power meter. Let's see what we're getting actually on the power. Let's look at the programming software real quick to see how similar or different it is, and then let's dunk it in the water and see how it survives. All right, so I got my MFJ 894 power meter connected to my GD-55 here, all right, into an MFJ dummy load, and we'll turn this on, and we'll see what we got. Now I got about 95% charge on this battery. I've had to make the video over a couple times, but right now I'm on 444.600 on digital, where I had my DV mega frequency.
High powered.
Let's give it a shot. Just about 8 watts. Well, dropping down a little bit. Battery's starting to fade, 7 watts. So on a full charge, I was getting about 8 watts. After doing this video a couple times, we're down to about 7. Let's go down to 435.9375 analog. That's just over 8 watts. Maybe the digital's, or the upper end of the band here that's low power. 444.600 low power.
High powered.
Right here, 444.6. Just over 7 watts. It starts to fade, so battery's starting to go a little bit down, but I was getting a maximum of about 8 watts on digital with a fully charged battery. So an improvement over 4 watts or 5 watts, yeah. The difference between 8 and 10, not really noticeable at all. So if you're getting almost 8 watts out of this radio, it's definitely an improvement over a standard 4 watt radio. Checking out a quick look at the software reading from the radio. So this looks probably identical, if I remember correctly, to the MD-390 software. Let's see. Your radio ID in the basic setting, you want to put that in there. Your zones. So first you go down here, in a nutshell, you would make contacts. All right. So I have a contact here, Florida statewide, but I had that changed. Florida statewide. And then TAC 310. Okay, so if you wanted to make a new contact, you right-click on Digital Contact, hit Add a single call or a group call, and you can name this Parrot. And let's see, well, it won't fit Parrot in there, so Parrot and 9990. That's for testing on DMR for audio. If you're using a repeater or a hotspot. So you have your contacts here, then you'd go into zone. And 16 channels per zone. So channel 1 on zone 1 would be Florida statewide as my contact. 444.6 would be my DV Mega hotspot frequency. It's a simplex frequency. But if I wanted to make a repeater, if I go to like digital channel 3, we'll call this KJ4YZI and color code 1. Now you see here it says slot 1, slot 2. That doesn't make any difference. Slot 2 is still going to put you on slot 1 on the radio. All right. And the frequency of the repeater, I think locally here is 444.325, 449.325 input. Your contact, if you wanted to go in on TAC 310 or statewide or however many talk groups you can put in here, you would select that. And I'd probably recommend leaving GPS off on something like the MD380 or 390. This probably wouldn't pertain to this because you most likely won't be using this on a repeater. But the GPS in these radios, to my understanding, is really not used on the DMR ham network. Commercially, business, yes. Not on the ham network. There is no use for the GPS, so you might want to leave that off. So pretty much, you do that for each zone. Then you can make zone 2, zone 3, however many zones you want to make. Okay, and the rest of the stuff here, if you're familiar with the MD380 and 390, this programming software is about identical. Once you make all your settings here on the programming software, you've got to program, write data, and it'll write to the radio. So, not to teach you how to use it on here, just so you can see how the program software is laid out on here, similar to an MD380. I'm not sure if your existing 390 software would just work and transfer over. That's a possibility, but worth a shot, I guess. The official dunk tank of HamRadioConcepts on YouTube, MD GD-55 turned on, and make sure that's tight, and bon voyage. Let's see. Hello, test. Hello, hello. Oh, I don't have this radio on. Look at that.
Welcome. Frequency mode.
Hello, test. Oh. Hello, test, test. 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3. Hello, test. 1 2. Swish it around a little bit, because when you drop it in the water, you drop it in the water, right? Drop it in the water. And it still works. Water test successful. And so overall, a nice tier 1 time slot 1 radio, good for some purposes, and definitely made for the elements. So thanks for watching. More videos on the way. Subscribe, and 7-3.